Welcome back. So, you guys, we are week 6, just to kind of recap in case you're finding part 2 and haven't watched part 1. This is part 2 of week 6, day 2. If you're finding me in part 2, just go and watch part 1 first, or it probably won't really make a lot of sense. But we finished the book of Matthew in this video. We finished the book of Matthew in this video. It will be the third book that we finish together. Do me a favor, please. No one's going to do it. I already know. If you have finished one book from the Bible with me, put a little book emoji. If you're on your phone, put a little book emoji. And that'll signify that you finished one book with me. If you have finished 2 books of the Bible with me, then put 2 book emojis. If you have finished 3 books of the Bible with me, then put 3 book emojis. And so the books that we have finished, if you have been following this series from the beginning, is it Genesis, Exodus, and now we are going to finish Matthew today in this video. We will start Leviticus in the next video. So that, I believe, is the next book that we will finish. I've already started listening to it on the Bible app. I actually don't think I've ever read Leviticus yet. I read many books in the Bible. I don't believe Leviticus is one of them. I've already started listening, and it's very detailed. I think that we'll get through it quickly, just in that I don't have a lot to reference and say on it, but I think it is important that we read every single book in the Bible. I know, you guys, that it's tempting to skip some books if they look boring, or they don't feel relevant, or you don't think you could get anything good out of it. But I truly believe that God can speak to us through every single book in the Bible, even the ones that feel like they're going to be boring or not entertaining, or they're not, we can't relate. So don't skip Leviticus. Okay, we're going to get through it together. It's going to be good. God's going to speak to us like he is just going to pour out like he always does, and we are going to receive it together. So anyways, let's not delay the fact that we finish another book. I'm so excited. I'm so happy because there's been so much. So January 2025, you guys, this whole, we're in March, but this January, February, March, this year has been so hard. And I never imagined how hard this year would be for me and my family. And because, again, Victoria, my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter, has already been admitted 2 times. And the most recent one was, I think, 9 days, something like that. And so, of course, it threw me off from this whole thing that I'm trying to do. But God, the devil cannot stop what God has already planned and predestined. And we are going to read the entire Bible this year, and we are just going to receive so much from it. And I already am. I already feel so blessed. Even in hardship, you guys, you can still be blessed. You can still be joyful. You can still have peace. I can tell you that I'm recording this on Sunday. This past week has been one of the most peaceful weeks that I have experienced all year. And this is with my daughter in the middle of chemo. Okay. This is with my daughter going through this diagnosis. This is with my daughter's finger still being monitored for whether, the tip is going to fall off or not. And I'm telling you that with God, you can still have peace in the middle of your storms, in the middle of the chaos, in the middle of just everything that we endure on this earth. And so I encourage you to draw close to God and have a week of peace in the middle of all of it. And so, this week has again been a peaceful week. It's one of the first weeks out of all year that we didn't have any doctor appointments. We have quite a lot this coming week. We have 3 appointments alone on Tuesday. Victoria has another infusion at the Children's Hospital, which we're there for 8+ hours on Friday. And so, this coming week, we do have to prepare ourselves mentally. We do have to prepare ourselves physically for all of that, so that we are overcoming it, so that it's not drowning us, so we're not sinking. Check out my post thoughts on the storm and on Peter walking on water and then him taking his gaze off of Jesus and seeing the wind. You know, some versions say the boisterous winds. And then he begins to sink, but he was so close enough to Jesus that Jesus only had to reach out his hand and pull him up. And it says that when Peter said, you know, Lord, help me, that when Peter called out to Jesus, it doesn't say that Jesus waited. It doesn't say that Jesus was like, it's your fault. No, it says Jesus immediately reached out his hand and helped Peter. And so check that pulse out. And you know what? Maybe I'll just like get off of this and just do a very quick video just to discuss it for those of you that don't like to read. Because I understand. I get it. Okay. So anyways, let's move on. So we're on week 6, day 2, where we're going to be finishing off Matthew. In the last video, we stopped at chapter 27, and the last verse we read was verse 36. So this video, we are starting on chapter 27, verse 27. And it says, the soldiers mock Jesus. It says some of the governor's soldiers took Jesus into their headquarters and called out the entire regiment. They stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. They wove thorn branches into a crown and put it on his head. And they placed the reed stick in his right hand as a scepter. Then they knelt before him in mockery and taunted, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spit on him and grabbed the stick and struck him on the head with it. When they were finally tired of mocking him, they took off the robe and put his own clothes on him again. Then they led him away to be crucified. And then it says the crucifixion. Yes, the crucifixion. And it says, verse 32, along the way, they came across a man named Simon who was from Cyrene, and the soldiers forced him to carry Jesus' cross. And they went out to a place called Golgotha, which means place of the skull. The soldiers gave Jesus wine mixed with bitter gall, but when he had tasted it, he refused to drink it. After they had nailed him to the cross, the soldiers gambled for his clothes by throwing dice. And then they sat around and kept guard as he hung there. A sign was fastened above Jesus' head announcing the charge against him. It read, "This is Jesus." I'm so sorry for that. I don't know if you guys can hear that plane flying above right now. But I'm just going to try to move on. Hopefully you guys can hear me. It says, the sign read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." 2 revolutionaries were crucified with him. Oh my gosh, it's so loud. Okay, I think it's done. All righty, verse 38. 2 revolutionaries were crucified with him, one on his right and one on his left. Verse 39 says, the people passing by shouted abuse, shaking their heads in mockery. "Look at you now," they yelled at him. "You said you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days. Well, then if you are the Son of God, save yourself and come down from the cross." 41 says, the leading priests, the teachers of religious law, and the elders also mocked Jesus. "He saved others," they scoffed, "but he can't save himself. So he is the King of Israel, is he? Let him come down from the cross right now, and we will believe in him. He trusted God, so let God rescue him now if he wants him. For he said, 'I am the Son of God.'" Even the revolutionaries who were crucified with him ridiculed him in the same way. Then it says the death of Jesus, verse 45, "At noon, darkness fell across the whole land until 3 o'clock. At about 3 o'clock, Jesus called out with a loud voice, 'Eli,'" I don't know if this is Eli, lema sabachthani. So please, you guys, listen to Bible app. We'll have the correct pronunciation on all of these words, and I highly recommend you guys listen on there. It says, which means, my God, why have you abandoned me?" Some of the bystanders misunderstood and thought he was calling for the prophet Elijah. One of them ran and filled a sponge with sour wine, holding it up to him on a reed stick so he could drink. But the rest said, "Wait, let's see whether Elijah comes to save him." 50 says, then Jesus shouted out again and he released his spirit. At that moment, the curtain in the sanctuary of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, rocks split apart, and tombs opened. The bodies of many godly men and women who had died were raised from the dead. They left the cemetery after Jesus' resurrection, went into the holy city of Jerusalem, and appeared to many people. Wow. Wow. 54 says the Roman officer and the other soldiers at the crucifixion were terrified by the earthquake and all that had happened. They said, this man truly was the Son of God. Wow. All of this, just like reading it yourselves, you guys, is just, I don't know. For me, it just blows my mind. It says, and many women who had gone from Galilee with Jesus to care for him were watching from a distance. Among them were Mary Magdalene, Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of James and John, the sons of Zebedee. It says the burial of Jesus. As evening approached, Joseph, a rich man from Arimathea, who had become a follower of Jesus, went to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body, and Pilate issued an order to release it to him. Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a long sheet of clean linen cloth. He placed it in his own new tomb, which had been carved out of the rock. Then he rolled a great stone across the entrance and left. Both Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were sitting across from the tomb and watching. The guard at the tomb, verse 62 says, the next day on the Sabbath, the leading priests and Pharisees went to see Pilate. They told him, sir, we remember what that deceiver once said while he was still alive. After 3 days, I will rise from the dead. So we request that you seal the tomb into the third day. This will prevent his disciples from coming and stealing his body and then telling everyone he was raised from the dead. If that happens, we'll be worse off than we were at first. Pilate replied, take guards and secure it the best you can. So they sealed the tomb and posted guards to protect it. Can you believe that? Like, that's just... Anyway, so now we're on chapter 28, which is the last chapter of Matthew, the resurrection. By the way, like, Easter is coming soon. If you haven't gone to church all year, go to church. And go to church on Easter too. Okay, so the resurrection. Chapter 28 says, early on Sunday morning, as the new day was dawning, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went out to visit the tomb. Suddenly there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, rolled aside the stone, and sat on it. His face shone like lightning, and his clothing was as white as snow. The guards shook with fear when they saw him, and they fell into a dead faint. Then the angel spoke to the woman. Don't be afraid, he said. I know you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He isn't there. He is risen from the dead, just as he said would happen. Come, see where his body was lying, and now go quickly and tell his disciples that he has risen from the dead, and he is going ahead of you to Galilee. You will see him there. Remember what I have told you. The women ran quickly from the tomb. They were very frightened, but also filled with great joy, and they rushed to give the disciples the angel's message. And as they went, Jesus met them and greeted them, and they ran to him, grasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, don't be afraid. Go tell my brothers to leave for Galilee, and they will see me there. Then it says the report of the guard. Verse 11 says, as the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and told the leading priests what had happened. A meeting with the elders was called, and they decided to give the soldiers a large bribe. They told the soldiers, you must say Jesus, the disciples came during the night while we were sleeping, and they stole his body. If the governor hears about it, we'll stand up for you so you won't get in trouble. So the guards accepted the bribe and said what they were told to say. Their story spread widely among the Jews, and they still tell it today. Can you believe that? They still tell it today? The Great Commission, verse 16 says, then the 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. When they saw him, they worshiped him, but some of them doubted. Jesus came and told his disciples, I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of age. That's it. Yay! Matthew, we're done with Matthew. Remember, if you are on your phone or any way that you can put, like, or if you're on your computer, and write Genesis, if you've gone through Genesis with me, or Exodus, or Matthew. I would love to know who has completed what books and stuff. But anyways, I love you guys, and that's it for today. Yay. Because we finished 3 books. Like, yay. I love you guys. Bye.